Sahanau bhunaktu Sah viryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
The Indian race is unique in that, in its long unbroken history, never have we chased after wealth, power, economic dominion, or military suppression or conquest. Yet, we had wealth the likes of which is unimaginable today. The descriptions of those times are that the streets were lined with gold. We had peace, harmony in society, high values. And what was the world at that time, which is the whole of Asia? India had a huge influence over what was the world then. The West was in the Dark Ages, unknown. What contributed to this is our philosophy, Vedanta, and the basic values that were instilled in society since thousands of years. Like the Kaivalya Upanishad says, na karmana na prajaya dhanena. You don't get it, you don't get happiness, you don't get wealth, you don't get any of this by acting extrovertedly, not by progeny, nor by wealth. Then how do you get it? Tyage naike amritatva manashu. By renunciation alone do you get immortality. And this principle sustains, even though it is, the signals are weak, it is still there. Look back into history again, not of India, of the rest of the world. Country after country, civilization after civilization, race after race, tried to achieve wealth, happiness, etc. through the lusting after gold, wealth, power. What happened? They fell flat on their faces. Look at the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, because it's a no-win situation. They just fall under the weight of misery and negativity that springs from it. Even modern countries, you see, have faced problems. So where do we go? Take a look at India today. We run the risk of losing our values. You lose our values, you've lost everything. So, the fourth chapter speaks of wisdom in action. The third chapter spoke of Karma Yoga, which we did 2 years back. Now, the fourth chapter deals with fine-tuning this action. And as we go along, we'll see the brilliance of Krishna and how he has been able to get across to the average person. Arjuna is an average person, an ordinary person, and communicate to us how you can worship 24/7. Worship is not about praying once a day. It's not about going to a temple or church or mosque once a week. It's not about going on a pilgrimage once a year. It's about a constant attunement with the higher. And how you can achieve that effortlessly while performing your daily routine without changing anything about and around you is the theme of the 4th chapter. So, the root cause of all our problems is ignorance. When we don't see the truth as it is, then what happens? Wrong beliefs come into our system. And when you believe wrongly, when you attribute the wrong cause to the symptoms that you are experiencing, then it leads to imaginary problems. And these imaginary problems can never be solved. If you have a real problem, it can be solved. A problem that arises out of imagination can never be solved by dealing with it externally. So it's like this. A patient goes to a doctor with a cough, expecting the doctor to give cough medicine, maybe an antibiotic. But the doctor says that your cough is due to acidity. Strange. The patient almost doesn't believe it. But when he follows the prescription, it works. Sometimes when you go with a patient goes with a stomach ache, it turns out to be something far more serious, a heart problem. So on and so forth. Similarly, in our lives, we experience agitation, we experience misery, sorrow, we experience depression. You see people with everything in the world feeling utterly deprived. You see, like the Olympics just now, there was a swimmer who had won Olympic gold and got completely bored with swimming and gave it up while he was young. Why does this happen? And then you get crushed by your own problems and you give up. Now all this is because of ignorance. So what you need is knowledge. You don't need sops. You don't need symptomatic relief. You don't need painkillers. You simply need knowledge. Just as in the dark when you're walking along and your foot touches a rope lying in a coiled fashion, and because of the darkness, you don't see the rope as a rope. You imagine it to be a snake. So, ignorance of the rope causes the misinterpretation that it is a snake. And that is the beginning of all your problems. So you believe you've been bitten by the snake, you believe the venom is going up your leg, you believe you've got fever, you've got pain, you've got all kinds of things. These symptoms you are experiencing. But the cause is imaginary. So suffering is real in the world. We are all suffering. That is very real. But the cause is all imaginary. So all you have to do, the person doesn't need anti-venom treatment. The person doesn't need to be taken to a hospital. The person doesn't need any of that. What does the person need? Just a light to show, to be directed towards what he believes is a snake, and it turns out to be a rope. And then the moment he sees it's a rope, a huge sigh of relief, and then everything disappears. Similarly, even in the relative, you get under the problem, you suffer unnecessarily, you complain, and worst is you attribute your problem to something, someone outside you. And you're stuck there. In the absolute sense, like Swami Ramatirtha said, quote anything other than Atman and you will be visited with suffering and sorrow. So in the absolute sense, you are identifying with everything other than Atman, therefore you are suffering. It's like seeing a snake where there is a rope. Identify with Atman, and that's all you need. Stand up against the challenges, they simply dissolve, they disappear. They can't stand under the glare of knowledge. So this is what it's about. Knowledge, wisdom in action. Today and the next 3 days we will have access to one of the most fascinating portions of the Bhagavad Gita. But before we start with the verses, let's take a look at the overall chapter, an overview of the chapter. The first 8 verses are given in a relatively lighter vein, where he speaks of Atman as the real Guru. Verses 9 to 17, he speaks of the relationship between Atman and action. 18 to 23, actions do not bind the enlightened. Once you reach the state of enlightenment, you can do what you like. The actions have no bearing on you. Just as whatever an actor does on stage, it has no impact on the personality, the character of the actor. The villainous traits of the role have no impact on the actor. 24 to 30 is the most important portion of this chapter, the 12 yajnas, a brilliant interpretation of the basic concept of yajna, the ritual, the ancient Vedic ritual of Havan. Verses 31 to 37, he says, all yajnas, all sacrifices end in wisdom.